What if the universe we live in isn't actually real, that it's just a highly advanced simulation running on some cosmic computer? Imagine for a moment that every star, every breath you take, every thought racing through your mind is part of a code written by entities beyond our understanding. How would we even know if what we perceive as reality is just an illusion? Could the fabric of existence itself be a carefully designed program, or is this just the wildest coincidence? As science and technology push closer to unraveling the true nature of reality, the line between what's real and what's simulated begins to blur. So what if we're living in a digital universe? What does that mean for meaning, free will, and everything we hold sacred? The questions are endless, and maybe, just maybe, the answer is waiting somewhere just beyond our perception. The hypothesis of a simulated reality. The idea that our entire universe might be a sophisticated simulation challenges the very fabric of reality itself. At its core, the hypothesis suggests that what we experience as physical laws and the cosmos may not be fundamental truths, but instead a product of an ultra-advanced computational system. Supporters of this view often point to the exponential growth of technology, particularly in computing power, as evidence that such simulations could become possible in the future. The notion is grounded in the belief that a highly advanced civilization, with access to immense processing capabilities, could create a detailed virtual universe indistinguishable from reality for the inhabitants within. If this is the case, then maybe everything we know is just data running in a vast, intricate program. On a more philosophical level, this hypothesis raises questions about consciousness and perception. If our brains are merely processing data from a simulation, then what is the nature of subjective experience? Is consciousness something that can be simulated perfectly, or is there an aspect of human awareness that remains fundamentally unreplicable? This line of thinking challenges the Cartesian idea of a clear distinction between reality and illusion. If the simulation is sufficiently complex, might we never truly tell the difference? Some argue that signs of a simulated universe could be hidden in the fabric of physical laws, perhaps in tiny inconsistencies, anomalies, or unreachable glitches, similar to bugs in software, though detecting them might be nearly impossible. Furthermore, the argument takes a curious turn when examining the motivations behind such simulations. Would an advanced civilization run multiple universes for experimentation, entertainment, or research? Could we be part of a cosmic experiment created by beings far more intelligent than ourselves? If the universe is a simulation, what about the constraints we observe, dark matter, dark energy, the fine-tuning of physical constants? Could these be akin to settings or parameters set by the programmers? The idea is both provocative and perplexing because it asks us to reassess our assumptions about free will, purpose, and the nature of existence itself. Are we autonomous agents, or just complex algorithms executing within a grand digital framework? And yet, pondering whether reality is a simulation invites as much speculation as it does skepticism. Despite some compelling philosophical arguments, concrete empirical evidence remains elusive. The question often loops back on itself. What if we are inside a simulation so advanced that detecting its boundaries or origins is impossible? Does it matter whether our universe is real or simulated? Perhaps the intrigue lies more in the mysteries and limits of our perception, rather than in definitive answers. This ongoing debate invites us to question the very nature of existence, leaving us with an open-ended reflection. If reality is a digital creation, what does that say about what it means to be truly conscious, truly alive? Historical perspectives on reality and illusion. When thinkers from ancient Greece pondered the nature of existence, they often blurred the line between reality and illusion, as if questioning whether what we perceive is merely a shadow of something more substantial. Plato's allegory of the cave vividly illustrates this. Prisoners perceive shadows cast on a wall, believing these shadows to be the only reality, unaware of the world outside. This metaphor, rooted in philosophical inquiries, reflects the perennial human suspicion that our senses might deceive us. Throughout history, many cultures have grappled with the idea that the world we inhabit could be an illusion, whether through the spiritual visions of Eastern philosophies or the mystical teachings of mystics, who believe physical appearances are just veils concealing deeper truths. In the Renaissance, the rediscovery of classical philosophy sparked a renewed fascination with perception and reality. Thinkers like Descartes questioned whether the external world could be trusted at all, famously contemplating whether a malicious demon might be deceiving him about everything he perceives. The skeptical challenge of "first think, therefore first am" became a foundational idea, suggesting that the only undeniable reality might be the existence of thought itself. This turning point reveals how the line between illusion and reality can be blurred, especially when one doubts the reliability of the senses, casting doubt on whether the universe is more than a grand illusion. The rise of modern scientific inquiry further complicated the notion of reality. Quantum mechanics, with its counterintuitive phenomena like superposition and entanglement, forces us to reconsider what constitutes existence. Electrons behave both as particles and waves, depending on observation, prompting questions about whether reality is observer-dependent. Some physicists and philosophers argue that perhaps the universe functions like a vast computational process, akin to a simulation, where what appears to be solid and real is instead a pattern generated by underlying algorithms. In this view, ancient philosophical questions about illusion find a modern scientific echo, implying that perhaps what we perceive is a construct, a pixelated layer over a deeper, unknowable substrate. As humanity continues to explore the boundaries of physics, consciousness, and perception, the question of whether the universe is a simulation remains tantalizingly unresolved. Could our entire experience be nothing more than a sophisticated program running on some vast cosmic server? Or is there an intrinsic reality beyond the veil of illusion that we are doomed to never fully access? The history of ideas suggests that our understanding of what is real has always been provisional, an endlessly shifting horizon. In contemplating these questions, the lines between what is genuine and what is illusory become not just philosophical curiosities, but profound mysteries inviting ongoing exploration. Defining the simulation hypothesis. Some argue that the universe we experience, its vast cosmic tapestry, the intricate dance of particles, the very fabric of space-time, could be nothing more than a highly sophisticated computer simulation. The simulation hypothesis, at its core, questions whether reality, as we perceive it, is the product of an advanced civilization's computational experiment or a virtual construct. Think of it as a worldview that dissolves the boundary between what feels real and what might be artificially generated. The foundational idea is rooted in the concept that if an entity or society possesses sufficient technological power, they could simulate entire universes, complete with conscious inhabitants who remain unaware of their simulated nature. Proponents of this hypothesis often point to developments in computational power, especially considering Moore's law's rapid progression and the increasing realism of virtual environments. Virtual worlds in modern gaming and AI-driven simulations already mimic physical reality with astonishing detail. Extending this trend, some suggest that a civilization capable of creating a simulation as complex as ours could generate countless such universes, each running potentially billions of simulated sentient beings. If the capacity exists to simulate not just moments, but entire realities, then statistically speaking, the probability that we are living within one of these simulations increases. This shifts the question from, "Are we in a simulation?" to, "Could this be the default state of existence?" Yet, what exactly would it mean to define the simulation hypothesis? It's not merely about speculative science fiction, but about framing our understanding of reality through a computational lens. At its essence, the hypothesis presumes that the universe we observe is governed by laws equivalent to coded algorithms running within some computational substrate. The question transforms into whether physical phenomena, quantum mechanics, gravity, or dark matter are, in fact, the product of underlying code. It invites us to consider whether the universe's constants and initial conditions were set as parameters in a grand simulation, much like tweaking a game's settings before launching a new world. But the debate extends beyond technical feasibility. Debating the simulation hypothesis challenges our assumptions about consciousness and identity. Could entities running such universes be wholly aware of their simulated worlds? Or might they deliberately embed errors or glitches as a way of testing or controlling their simulations? If we are simulations, then our notions of free will, moral responsibility, and even fundamental physics become question marks rather than settled facts. The concept pushes us to wonder, if reality is a simulation, what does that truly say about existence itself? Is the distinction between real and simulated blurry or perfectly clear? And perhaps, the most tantalizing question of all, if the simulation hypothesis is correct, what lies beyond the boundaries of this computational cosmos? Technological foundations of simulation. Ponder the incredible leap from primitive computational devices to the sophisticated machines that now underpin our entire digital existence. Contemporary simulations, from video games to virtual reality environments, are built upon layers of hardware and software that process trillions of calculations per second. At the heart of these are quantum processors, which, unlike classical silicon-based chips, leverage the oddities of quantum mechanics to perform parallel computations that seem almost mystical to the uninitiated. Imagine a world where these quantum phenomena aren't just used for encryption or complex simulations, but are harnessed to recreate the fabric of reality itself. Could the universe be running on such a hyper-advanced quantum computer, an unfathomably powerful device encoded with enough processing capacity to simulate every particle, wave, and force? Advances in artificial intelligence and machine learning also lend credibility to the idea that if a civilization were to attempt such a simulation, it would require not only immense raw power, but self-aware, adaptive algorithms. Instead of hard-coded rules or deterministic Lego-like blocks, the simulated universe might develop emergent properties through constantly evolving AI systems deep within its core. Current research explores how neural networks can model complex social behaviors and natural phenomena, hinting that a sufficiently advanced simulation would likely rely on layered AIs capable of self-improvement. This raises a tantalizing question. If the universe is a simulation, could these AI-driven processes be the true hardware, constantly optimizing and repairing the simulation from within? Thinking about this, some theorists consider the hardware components as more than just physical devices. They could be part of a deeply layered system, perhaps involving cosmic-scale computing infrastructure. Imagine the universe itself as a distributed network of processing nodes, possibly black holes, cosmic strings, or other phenomena, serving as processing units in an abstract, multi-tiered architecture. This recursive idea suggests that rather than one colossal computer, the simulation might be woven into the very fabric of space-time, pixels upon pixels, yet so perfectly integrated that distinguishing the program from reality becomes impossible. Would technology capable of manipulating space-time itself be needed for a simulation of this scope, blurring the line between physics and computation? Could the universe's laws be nothing more than a code base, meticulously maintained by beings operating on a scale beyond our comprehension? Ultimately, what drives the speculation behind the technological basis of such a simulation is a mixture of scientific curiosity and philosophical hunger. If we can understand how our reality is constructed, even hypothetically, it invites a profound reconsideration of our place in the cosmos. Are we the pioneers of a digital universe, or simply players within one designed by others? The machinery behind such a vast simulation would require not only technological mastery, but a new level of conceptual thinking, one that challenges the boundaries of what we believe possible. And as we inch closer to understanding the underlying mechanics of our universe, the question remains, if this is indeed a simulation, how much of our reality is a matter of hardware and code, and how much is the mysterious dance of consciousness itself? Evidence and arguments supporting the hypothesis. Numerous thinkers and scientists have pondered whether the universe itself could be a simulation, compelling us to examine the evidence and logical arguments that lend credence to this tantalizing hypothesis. Among these points, the nature and behavior of the universe often seem to mirror those of digital environments. For instance, the discovery of a fundamental limit to the speed at which information can travel, the speed of light, suggests that our universe might operate within a processing grid that constrains data flow much like a computer's bandwidth. When physicists probe the fabric of space-time, they find clues that hint at an inherent graininess, akin to pixels in digital imagery. The Planck length, which represents the smallest meaningful measurement of space, could be analogous to a pixel's resolution in a simulation, raising questions about whether space itself is a rendered construct rather than an infinitely detailed continuum. Furthermore, emerging research in quantum mechanics points toward peculiar phenomena that might be explained through the lens of a simulated reality. The observer effect, where particles behave differently depending on whether they are observed, might reflect an underlying computational process that dynamically renders detail only when needed. This selective loading of information aligns surprisingly well with how modern video games optimize resources, only rendering high-resolution graphics in the player's immediate vicinity. Experiments involving quantum entanglement reinforce this idea. When particles become entangled, information seems to travel instantaneously across vast distances, defying classical notions of locality. Could this be a manifestation of a code running on a grand, cosmic server that ensures coherence across the simulation? The hypothesis gains further support from philosophical and logical angles. Some argue that if future civilizations develop technology capable of creating highly detailed simulations of their ancestors, what we might call ancestor simulations, it becomes statistically more likely that we are inhabitants within one of those simulated worlds than autonomous beings. Bostrom's simulation argument posits that, assuming such simulations are feasible and probable, the number of simulated realities could vastly outnumber the authentic universe. This shifts the probability perspective. It's less a question of whether we are in a simulation, but how likely it is that our perceived reality is just a carefully constructed code. Challenging perception, this notion invites us to reconsider what real even means. Could the patterns of cosmic background radiation, the fine-tuning of physical constants, or the digital-like structure of quantum information all be artifacts of a programmed universe? Artifacts we interpret as evidence, yet may actually be features of a simulated environment. The lines between physical fact and virtual construct blur as we explore these ideas, leaving an open question that perhaps only future insights will clarify. Implications for free will and consciousness. The notion that our universe might be a simulation challenges the very foundation of free will by suggesting that what appears as choice could be predetermined or programmed. If every decision, every thought, even the sensation of agency is just a line of code executed by a vast computational system, then the concept of genuine free will seems to dissolve into illusion. In such a framework, our sense of making independent choices might be akin to a player in a video game believing they are free to forge their own path, while all outcomes are ultimately scripted or constrained by the parameters set by the simulator. This raises questions about moral responsibility too. If our actions are preordained, can we be truly accountable? The moral implications become tangled when the boundary between autonomy and manipulation blurs, challenging long-held notions of guilt, virtue, and personal growth. Consciousness, in this hypothetical, becomes another fascinating puzzle piece. If consciousness is just a product of the simulation, an emergent phenomenon generated by complex algorithms, does that diminish its authenticity? On one hand, Some argue that as long as experiences feel real to the individual, they are real enough to matter. On the other hand, if consciousness is reducible to lines of code, then what is the difference between our subjective experience and a computer simulation that mimics human thought? The idea raises profound questions about the nature of awareness. Is consciousness an intrinsic property of the universe or merely a simulation byproduct? Could a simulated consciousness ever achieve true self-awareness, or is it forever confined within the boundaries of its digital blueprint? It's tempting to think that if our universe is a simulation, then the boundary between what we perceive and what is real becomes mysteriously blurred. We may live in a world where free will is simply an illusion, a carefully crafted appearance designed to mimic genuine agency. Or perhaps, consciousness itself is a kind of software that can be manipulated, rewired, or even transferred to other substrates. The dilemma is whether our subjective experience would persist unchanged if we discovered that everything around us was just a digital facade. Would that knowledge liberate us or imprison us further? The question remains open, because dismissing perception entirely risks dismissing the vivid tapestry of experience that defines human existence. Yet embracing the simulation hypothesis nudges us toward pondering whether all that we cherish as authentic might, after all, be a meticulously constructed illusion. The role of advanced beings or creators. When contemplating the notion of a universe as a simulation, the idea of advanced beings or creators takes center stage as the architects behind the entire construct. These hypothetical entities could be vastly more intelligent, technologically superior, or fundamentally different from anything we can comprehend. Their role would parallel that of programmers or developers, meticulously designing the physics, constants, and even the very fabric of reality. Such beings might have crafted our universe with specific intents or perhaps as an experiment, lending a purpose to the chaos we observe. If they exist, their motivations could range from pure curiosity to a desire to understand consciousness or to explore alternate realities, hanging in the balance between creation and observation. In some scenarios, these creators might be embedded within the universe itself, perhaps functioning as the underlying code or algorithm that sustains existence. They could operate on a level of reality beyond our perception, possessing insights and powers that are impossible for us to detect. Are they conscious entities, or simply the law-like constants embedded in the fabric of the simulation? Their presence raises questions about agency and independence. Do they manipulate our universe at will, or are they bound by their own rules? And if they do intervene, how does that influence the notion of free will? The subtlety of their involvement could be so seamless that we might never even suspect it, much like glitches in a digital program that go unnoticed by end users. On a more profound level, some argue that these beings could themselves be part of a larger hierarchy, creating layers of simulation within simulation, each with its own creators. This recursive idea challenges the idea of a final, ultimate creator. Are we merely the latest in a chain of cosmic artisans, each indifferent or oblivious to their own origins? Or are these advanced beings aware of their role as orchestrators, possessing an almost godlike knowledge of reality's code? Considering how technology might evolve in the far future, some speculate that our descendants could become these creators themselves, crafting simulations so detailed that the simulated consciousness is wholly unaware of its simulated nature. In that case, the line between creator and creation blurs beautifully, blurring what it means to be truly autonomous within an artificially crafted universe. Yet, the presence of such creators raises questions about the limits of their power and knowledge. Are they bound by laws they themselves wouldn't dare break? Or do they operate with finesse beyond human understanding, capable of miracles hidden behind complex algorithms? If we suppose such beings exist, perhaps their motivations are inscrutable, driven by curiosity, self-preservation, or a desire to learn about the universe they have built. Are they divine entities, or simply advanced programmers with an understanding of the universe's syntax? Their role forever teeters on the boundary between godlike omnipotence and technological finesse, leaving us pondering whether our universe is a masterpiece of design or a simple sandbox in someone else's game. The mystery persists. If such creators do exist, what can they truly know about us? And what do we mean in the grand landscape of their creation? The nature of laws and constants in a simulated universe. The fundamental constants that govern our universe, such as the speed of light, gravitational constant, and Planck's constant, appear to be finely tuned and mysteriously precise. Some scientists and philosophers propose that these values might not be arbitrary, but are instead set by an underlying code, an intentional calibration within a larger simulation. If we entertain the hypothesis that our universe is a simulation, then these constants could be parameters programmed into the system's code, capable of being adjusted or reconfigured by its creators, or even by emergent processes within the simulation itself. This raises questions about why these constants have the specific values they do. Are they inevitable byproducts of computational efficiency, or deliberately chosen settings to produce a universe capable of complex life and consciousness? The notion challenges our perception of physical laws as immutable. In a universe crafted as a simulation, laws may be more like the rules of a game rather than fundamental truths etched into the fabric of reality. For instance, if one alters the gravitational constant within the simulation, what happens? Do stars, planets, and biological life cease to exist, or do they morph into entirely different forms? It's possible that what we consider constants are merely simulation parameters that can be tweaked, either by the original programmers or through self-organizing processes that mimic evolutionary changes in code. This flexibility blurs the line between the fixed laws of physics and the transient rules dictated by a higher-level system, akin to changing settings in a cosmic sandbox. Some theorists suggest that if our universe is a simulation, then the existence of these constants hint at a designer or a controlling entity, be it a highly advanced civilization or an abstract higher consciousness. Yet, paradoxically, if the universe is a simulation, those constants could also arise from complex algorithms designed to produce a universe capable of stable structures and meaningful interactions. These constants might be the emergent result of computational constraints, where certain values optimize the simulation's performance or durability. For example, a universe with different constants may not be hospitable to complexity. Perhaps there's an underlying reason why these parameters cluster within narrow ranges. They maximize computational stability or energy efficiency within the simulation, ensuring the system sustains itself long enough for life and consciousness to emerge. In the end, pondering the nature of laws and constants within a simulated universe invites us to question whether reality is as fixed and absolute as it appears, or if it is more fluid and manipulable than we acknowledge. Are we living in a meticulously programmed environment, or is it a self-evolving system that spontaneously generates its own rules? The true origin and meaning behind these constants remain elusive, shrouded in mystery and possibilities. Do they reveal a deeper purpose, or are they merely the side effects of a universe that simply happens to run smoothly on certain foundational parameters? The question lingers, inviting us to explore the delicate dance between certainty and wonder, logic and mystery. Parallel concepts, dreams, virtual reality, and multiverses. Dreams have long fascinated humans, serving as a mysterious bridge between consciousness and the unconscious mind. They demonstrate how reality can be fluid, subjective, and often nonsensical, similar to the way a virtual reality world can bend rules and create experiences that feel genuine, yet are entirely artificially constructed. If the universe is a giant simulation, dreams could be viewed as the subconscious code snuck in between the layers of the grand digital fabric, flickering moments that hint at a reality that is both familiar and fabricated. For example, vivid dreams involving impossible scenarios often defy physical laws, much like how a virtual world can stretch or rewrite basic constraints of reality. Could it be that our sleep-induced visions are fragments of the larger simulation glitching, or perhaps glimpses of alternate program states? Virtual reality, on the other hand, offers a controlled environment that mimics reality. It can be immersive, interactive, and convincingly real while remaining entirely artificial. Advances in VR technology increasingly blur the boundary between the real and the simulated, prompting questions about whether our everyday experiences might be similarly programmatic. Consider the uncanny valley effect, where digital avatars appear almost human but fail to evoke genuine emotion. This hints at a threshold where simulation feels authentic enough to deceive the senses. If the universe operates like a giant-scale simulation, then our perception of physical laws and constants might be akin to the graphical rendering in a VR game, well-crafted but ultimately code. Some physicists speculate that reality might be computable, that the cosmos could be running on a vast quantum processor, making life a sort of cosmic game or simulation, with each of us navigating an elaborate program. Turning to multiverses introduces an even broader perspective, enlarging the scope from a single simulated universe to countless others, each with different possible laws of physics, initial conditions, or even conceptions of time and space. If our universe is a simulation, perhaps it is just one of many, akin to multiple tabs open in a browser, each representing a different set of rules or outcomes. This idea becomes more intriguing when considering the multiversal theories in physics, where every conceivable universe exists in a higher dimensional space. The concept that some alternate universe could be designed with different constants, or even with radically different forms of consciousness, expands the simulation hypothesis into a cosmic or multiversal scale. Here, the boundaries between alters, versions, or levels of reality become fuzzy. What if our universe is but one simulation layered within an even larger multiverse, like a matryoshka doll of realities? These intertwined notions challenge the very fabric of what people perceive as real. If dreams, virtual worlds, and multiverses are reflections or manifestations of the same underlying principle, a layered, malleable reality, then perhaps existence itself is a phenomenon of nested or parallel simulations. The crisp lines between what's real and what's simulated soften, emphasizing uncertainty and fostering curiosity. Could it be that the universe behaves like a dream catching echoes of other realities? Or are we living inside a vast, interconnected multiverse where each simulation influences or overlaps with others? As much as science and philosophy wrestle with these ideas, the true nature of reality may forever remain an open question, shadowed by the mysteries of consciousness, code, and infinite possibility. Ethical and existential questions raised by simulation theory. When considering the idea that our entire universe might be a simulated construct, it forces us to confront questions that have haunted philosophy and ethics for centuries, but now take on a new, paradoxical dimension. If reality is nothing more than code and computation, then what does it mean to be morally accountable? Is suffering genuine if it occurs within a simulation, or is it simply a scripted illusion? Some argue that consciousness, if it truly exists in a simulated universe, should hold the same moral weight as consciousness in a supposedly real universe. But what is the basis for moral obligation when the boundaries of authenticity are blurred? Could the simulated beings, including humans, possess genuine rights, or would they be no more than complex characters in an elaborate game? These questions ripple into debates about creator responsibility. If a civilization creates a simulation populated with conscious beings, do they have ethical obligations toward those beings? Consider the analogy of a programmer creating characters who experience suffering, joy, or despair. Does the creator bear guilt if those beings endure pain? Some philosophers suggest that ethical standards should extend to simulated entities. leading to the notion that whoever runs the simulation has a responsibility akin to moral stewardship. On the flip side, what if the simulation's creators are indifferent or even malicious? Would that imply an even darker ethical landscape where suffering is detached from moral consequence, simply a tool or experiment? The possibility of intentional or negligent harm in simulated worlds echoes real-world debates about the ethics of artificial intelligence and virtual environments today, but magnified to cosmic scales. From an existential perspective, the simulation hypothesis shakes the very foundation of human purpose and meaning. If life is a programmed occurrence within a larger computer, do our pursuits, passions, and struggles hold any intrinsic significance? Some argue that meaning is subjective and can arise regardless of the universe's origin, whether real or simulated. Yet, others find it unsettling that our universe might not be the final or ultimate reality. If we are simply the products of a higher intelligence's experiment or entertainment, does that undermine the notion of free will? Could our choices genuinely be autonomous if they are predetermined by code? Or does the act of questioning and rebellion against the simulation itself affirm authentic agency? This interplay between free will and determinism becomes even more complex when layered with the awareness that our universe might be a construct. Ultimately, pondering whether the universe is a simulation invites us to confront the limits of human understanding and certainty. It blurs the line between the ethical and the philosophical, questioning not just our place in the cosmos, but the ethics of those who might have created or oversee us. The very act of questioning opens a Pandora's box of possibilities, some comforting, others disturbing. If we accept the simulation hypothesis as plausible, it leaves us with lingering uncertainty. Is our moral compass still valid, or just a reflection of programmed responses? Are our pursuits for truth and meaning genuine, or mere subroutines in a cosmic code? Perhaps, in the end, the fundamental mystery remains that the universe's true nature might forever stay just beyond the reach of human grasp, inviting us to keep searching while embracing the ambiguity. Potential indicators and tests for a simulated universe. The idea that our universe might be a sophisticated simulation prompts scientists and philosophers to seek tangible clues that could reveal its true nature. One of the strongest lines of inquiry involves examining the fabric of reality for anomalies or limitations that suggest a digital underpinning. For example, some physicists have proposed that space, time, or matter might exhibit signs of a pixelated or granular structure at incredibly small scales, so-called Planck scale phenomena. If the universe is a simulation, it might not be perfectly smooth at these minuscule levels, revealing a resolution limit akin to the pixel grid in a computer image. Researchers have looked for anomalies in high-energy particle collisions, such as deviations from expected distributions that could hint at a finite computational grid underlying reality. Another potential indicator revolves around the concept of computational constraints manifesting as observable glitches in the universe. One example is the so-called cosmic ray horizon. Certain extraordinarily high-energy particles should not be able to reach us if the universe is infinite or continuous, but are detected nonetheless. If these particles are somehow constrained or exhibit irregularities in their distribution or energy levels, it could imply the universe is governed by underlying rules akin to code. Similarly, the phenomenon of quantum entanglement might be scrutinized for signs of shortcuts or non-local connections that are easier to explain in a programmed universe than in a naturally occurring one. Tests carried out in particle physics and cosmic observations aim to find evidence of such constraints or anomalies. For instance, physicists analyze the cosmic microwave background for subtle patterns or irregularities, seams, in the fabric of spacetime that might indicate a digital overlay. The search for missing energy or unexplained glitches in the data collected by space telescopes could also shed light on this hypothesis. If our universe truly has computational underpinnings, then every physical law might have a loophole or error margin, and discovering these irregularities could be like finding the cracks in a simulation's facade. Yet, a teasing question remains. Could we ever conclusively prove the universe is simulated? Or are these clues merely projections of our limited understanding? Perhaps the very act of searching is restricted by the bounds of our reality, whether simulated or not. Could it be that any pattern or anomaly we detect is just part of the grand design, embedded to mislead or to serve as trivial markers? The pursuit itself blurs the line between the quest for truth and the acknowledgement that reality may be nothing more than a brilliantly coded illusion, something worth pondering even as we chase faint shadows of certainty. Philosophical challenges and rebuttals to the hypothesis. Could reality itself be nothing more than a coded illusion? That question haunts many thinkers who entertain the simulation hypothesis. If the universe is a construct, be it a highly sophisticated computer program or some form of synthetic reality, then what does that say about existence, agency, or even meaning? One core philosophical challenge is rooted in the question of certainty. How can we truly know anything if all our perceptions are filtered through layers of simulation? When every sensory input could be manipulated or fabricated, skepticism intensifies. This echoes Descartes' famous quest for indubitable truth, except now, the foundation isn't just our mind's doubt, but the fabric of the universe itself. Another enduring rebuttal questions the very logic of the hypothesis. Why, if we are simulated, would the creators bother to include the complex, seemingly quantum properties of our universe? Quantum indeterminacy, wave-particle duality, or the observer effect might be evidence of deeper computational processes, yet they could also just be features of a universe that is irreducibly complex and mysterious, not necessarily simulated. Moreover, the idea that we would recognize we are in a simulation presupposes that those simulations would be detectable by us, which seems paradoxical. If a simulation is indistinguishable from reality, how can we distinguish the real from the simulated without additional external reference? Wouldn't every attempt to prove the simulation's existence only reinforce the notion that we're still bounded within its constraints? The simulation hypothesis also raises questions about free will and moral responsibility. If our thoughts, choices, and feelings are ultimately dictated by an underlying code, does that diminish our sense of agency? Can we hold ourselves accountable if everything we do is just the output of pre-programmed parameters? Alternatively, if the creators of this simulation are watching us, or even experimenting with us, is their purpose truly aligned with our moral framework? It seems to embed us in a paradox. If we're mere characters in a program, what does it mean to act ethically or authentically? Would our struggles, joys, and failures hold any real weight under this scenario? Yet, some philosophers argue that even if our universe were simulated, the experiences within it would still carry profound meaning, rendering the distinction between simulated and authentic irrelevant. In the end, pondering the universe as a simulation challenges the boundaries of certainty and opens a Pandora's box of mysteries. Does questioning our reality serve to deepen our understanding, or is it a cosmic distraction from the core enigma? What is the true nature of existence? Perhaps, just perhaps, the truth isn't meant to be uncovered, or isn't accessible through logic alone. The notion of a simulated universe teases sensational possibilities, but it also leaves us with an ambiguous, tantalizing question. If everything we know is a digital mirage, what does it mean to live and to wonder? Cultural and literary reflections on simulated existence. Throughout history, humanity's collective imagination has grappled with the idea that reality might be an illusion, a crafted illusion rather than an intrinsic truth. Literature echoes this notion. Herman Melville's Moby Dick questions the nature of obsession and perception, while Jorge Luis Borges's stories expose labyrinths of infinite realities, blurring the lines between the real and the constructed. In more modern times, science fiction has taken this concept seriously through narratives like Philip K. Dick Cubic or the film The Matrix, which depict worlds that are convincingly real but ultimately artificial, constructed within a larger digital framework. Cultural reflections often serve as mirrors and critiques of the idea that existence might be a simulation. Consider how cyberpunk literature envisions a future where human consciousness blends with virtual environments, an intoxicating blend of technological control and individual agency. These stories question whether the authentic human experience exists outside of the digital facade, or if identity itself becomes fluid within simulated spaces. The notion invites a profound reflection on authenticity. Does it matter if our perceptions are manufactured? Or does the subjective experience remain fundamentally genuine, regardless of its origins? Some cultures have long embraced the idea that life is a kind of maya, a fleeting illusion, an ancient philosophical perspective validated anew in the context of simulated universe hypotheses. Poetry and philosophy have also contributed to these reflections, sometimes subtly challenging our understanding of reality's fabric. The notion that the universe could be akin to a grand script raises questions about free will, destiny, and moral responsibility. If we are characters in a predetermined program, what does morality mean? Or conversely, if chaos and randomness are embedded within the simulation's code, does that diminish the solidity of our choices? Writers like Jean-Paul Sartre have pondered these dilemmas through existential inquiry, emphasizing human agency even within seemingly deterministic frameworks. They provoke us to consider whether the perceived borders of consciousness are mere artifacts of programming, or if there's something inherently real, a spark of genuine existence, beyond the simulation's surface. In the end, contemplating the universe as a simulation surface, whether our stories are woven from truth or fiction, it invites both profound humility and daring curiosity, challenging the boundaries of what constitutes reality, knowing that our understanding is always partial. Are we simply characters in a vast cosmic code, or is the very act of questioning what makes our universe authentic? Perhaps it's the very mystery that keeps us searching, forever caught between what we see and what remains hidden just beyond our grasp. Future possibilities and human engagement with simulations. Contemplating a universe potentially governed by simulation raises profound questions about the trajectory of human innovation and our capacity for interaction with hyperreal constructs. With rapid advancements in virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and computational power, the line separating physical experience from digital mimicry continues to blur. In the near future, it's conceivable that humans will develop increasingly immersive simulations, worlds so convincing that distinguishing them from reality becomes nearly impossible. This prompts speculation about our engagement. Will we become explorers, creators, or mere spectators within vast digital cosmos? What drives us towards such ventures? Is it curiosity, escapism, or a deep-rooted desire to transcend biological limitations? Humans are already experimenting with simulated environments that serve educational, therapeutic, and entertainment purposes. These ventures hint at a broader future where participation in hyper-realistic simulations becomes routine, perhaps even indistinguishable from genuine experience. Imagine virtual worlds where people can relive historical events, explore distant planets, or communicate across galaxies without leaving their living rooms. The potential for human collaboration and learning intensifies when boundaries vanish. Yet, as simulations grow more sophisticated, ethical dilemmas emerge. What does it mean to truly engage with a simulation? Does emotional investment in a constructed universe diminish the value of genuine human connection, or does it unlock entirely new forms of understanding and empathy? The future engagement with simulated universes might also unlock a space for advanced consciousness studies. Could we develop consciousness within these realms, allowing us to cultivate new identities or even transcend our biological selves? Projects like brain-computer interfaces already hint at merging mind with machine, suggesting a future where mental states are directly connected to digital worlds. If that happens, human presence could evolve from physical bodies to digital avatars, perpetual travelers with encoded realities. The implications extend beyond personal experience. Societal and philosophical paradigms about identity, existence, and purpose could shift dramatically. And yet, amid all this potential, a persistent question lingers. If we can simulate consciousness, are we merely creating more questions rather than answers about what it truly means to be alive? As we unlock the capacity to slide between realities, the ultimate nature of existence might remain an ever-elusive mystery, no matter how advanced our simulations become. Imagine if everything we perceive, the stars, the galaxies, the very fabric of reality, were merely lines of code in an intricate simulation. The notion that the universe might be a constructed environment rather than an independent, physical phenomenon challenges our fundamental understanding of existence. Advanced civilizations, perhaps far beyond our current comprehension, could have developed the technology to simulate entire worlds, complete with conscious beings who are unaware of their artificial surroundings. This idea raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness itself. Are our thoughts and feelings genuine, or just programmed responses within a grand digital matrix? Science has long acknowledged phenomena that blur the lines between reality and perception, such as quantum entanglement and the observer effect. When particles become linked over vast distances instantaneously, some scientists speculate this could suggest an underlying digital framework governing physical laws, akin to data packets transmitted across a grid. Moreover, experiments like the holographic principle propose that our three-dimensional universe might be projected from information encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, hinting at a simulation-like structure lurking beneath surface appearances. Could it be that what we take as the real world is merely a three-dimensional rendering of a more fundamental, mathematical code? The philosophical implications are staggering. If we are within a simulation, then our sense of free will might be an illusion, like characters following scripts set by unknown programmers. Alternatively, maybe those creators have included unpredictability or choice, giving us a semblance of agency within constructed parameters. The notion becomes even more compelling when considering the pace at which our own technological progress is moving. We are approaching the capability to create virtual environments indistinguishable from reality. Do these advancements hint that we too might someday be capable of creating such simulations? And if so, what does that say about the entities running our universe? Are they just physicists or programmers, or something else altogether? Ultimately, pondering whether the universe is a simulation invites endless speculation, mixing scientific inquiry with philosophical wonder. It pushes us to reconsider what it means to truly know anything. Is reality inherently knowable, or is it an elusive illusion crafted to keep us questioning? Perhaps the answer lies in embracing the mystery, realizing that some truths are beyond our current grasp. Or maybe, just maybe, the universe's greatest secret is that it isn't a secret at all, but an invitation to explore endlessly. The possibilities remain open, unbounded, inviting us to continue searching for deeper understanding despite the limits of our perception. So, as we pause to reflect on the possibility that our universe might be a grand simulation, we're invited to question everything we consider real. Could the rules we understand be just lines of code? Or is there some deeper mystery that keeps us searching for meaning beyond the digital veil? We've explored the evidence suggesting a simulated reality, the implications it could have on our understanding of existence, and the fascinating questions it raises about free will and consciousness. Perhaps the most compelling part isn't just what we've uncovered, but the questions that remain unanswered. Are we conscious observers within a master program, or is our perception just a beautifully complex illusion? Does knowing, or even suspecting, the truth change how we live, love, or dream? Together, we're caught at the edge of understanding, daring to peek behind the curtain of reality. And isn't that what makes our universe so endlessly intriguing? Maybe the real magic lies in the mystery itself, what we don't know and may never fully grasp. If you found this exploration intriguing, stay tuned. There's so much more to uncover about the nature of existence, consciousness, and what lies beyond the universe we see. Keep questioning, keep searching, because the adventure of understanding is just beginning.